Welcome back to Brand Chops, the podcast that helps small businesses brand smarter, not harder. Every episode, we break down a key aspect of building your business with better branding into bite-sized, actionable takeaways you can use right away. My name is Zach Lemire, and in this episode, we're talking about why long brand plans fail, what a one-page plan looks like, and how you can create one for your business this week. So let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I worked with a company that had invested tens of thousands of dollars into a massive brand strategy document. It was 60 pages long, full of charts, frameworks, and buzzwords. The agency delivered it, everyone clapped, and then it sat on a shelf. Now, don't get me wrong, these plans are important, and the bigger the business, the more elaborate they should be, and the more you should really follow them. But the problem is that with smaller businesses, sometimes they go overboard with the planning, and then it gets overwhelming and they don't know how to execute. And when I met their team a year later, not one employee could tell me what was in that document. Not a single one. And that's the problem with most brand plans. They're too long, too complicated, and totally unusable in day-to-day business. It's important to do your research. It's important to get a strategy for your plan. And it's important to follow that strategy. It really is. But here's the truth. Your brand plan should fit on a single page sometimes. Especially for a small business, a business just starting out. You want that longer plan. You want that elaborated, detailed workbook. But you should also have a one-page plan so that you can start right away. And so you have something that you can reference on a regular basis that kind of encapsulates the whole thing. So when you have something that fits on a single page, and that's it, just a page, one page that captures the vision, the mission, the values, the audience, the promise, and the top priorities. It's simple, it's clear, and it's shareable. And most of these huge brand plans are missing this one page. The problem is overcomplication. Small businesses think they need a giant strategy binder to look serious. They copy big companies that can afford 100-page playbooks. But the problem is that those companies that can afford those 100-page playbooks also have huge teams to execute and memorize and specialists to go through those playbooks. But what happens if you're a small business? Usually, nobody has the time to read them and nobody remembers them. And certainly nobody uses them. When your plan is too long, it becomes invisible. Employees can't keep it in their heads. Leadership forgets about it. Marketing drifts off course. Before long, everyone's rowing in different directions. And that's the opposite of a brand strategy and a brand plan. There is research to back this up. According to a Harvard Business Review study, only 14% of employees understand their company's strategy. That's only 14%. And even if you're in a marketing position, again, most of us are overwhelmed and the work just never stops piling. So in order to take some time and really read through the strategy, a lot of times people feel like they don't have time for it. And whether that's facts or not, the reality is that it's happening. And so that's where the value of a one-page brand plan comes into play. Because with 14% of employees understanding their strategy, that means 86% are basically guessing. If your people don't know the plan, you don't have alignment. And lack of alignment costs money, it costs time and opportunities. Here's another problem. Long plans don't adapt. So some people plan themselves into a corner, and businesses move fast. If your plan takes an hour just to skim, you won't update it often and it becomes stale. So the problem is clear. Complexity almost always kills usability. So if long plans don't work, what does? Well, let's look at branding's role here. Strong brands are simple. Think of Apple's brand plan. At its core, it's about simplicity, creativity, and innovation. That's it. Or Patagonia, environmental activism and quality outdoor gear. Simple, memorable, powerful. Now, don't get me wrong, they have, I'm sure, tons and tons of documentation about their brand, their guidelines, what to do, what not to do, what they've done, how they evolve it, what's the plan for next. But these are huge, huge industries, huge companies. They have the staff, they have the time, they have the resources to be using such a fat book plan. But a brand plan isn't about impressing people with fancy charts. It's about giving your team a compass they can actually use. So when your plan fits on one page, people will read it. And I highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you're in the marketing business, do the in-depth research, but include the one page so that they have a reference sheet, something they can use. Because when your plan fits on one page, people will read it, they will remember it, and they will use it. And when everyone in your business can say the same vision, the same mission and the same promise, you build alignment, and alignment builds trust. But that's kind of the point of all this strategy, is to get everybody rowing in the same direction. And if people don't have the time or the resources or the energy or the will to read through the big fat stack document, you're kind of working against yourself. And this applies more to small businesses than anyone else. Startups, small businesses, if you have a simple one-page plan and we just really know, where are we going? How are we going to get there? Who are we targeting? What do they need from us? What do we stand for? Easy, simple. These are things that should be on the wall. These are things that should be signage. These are things that should be in the employee welcoming packets. And it should be in that one page. So how do we make this practical? Let's talk about how to actually build a one-page brand plan. Here's my framework for creating a one-page plan. Step 1, vision. Just write one sentence about the future you're working toward. Here's an example. We envision a world where small businesses can market themselves confidently without wasting money. Something simple. It doesn't have to be complete. Just get started. Step 2 is your mission. Now that you know where you're going, we have to figure out how we're going to get there. So write one sentence about what you do every day to get there. Example would be, we help small businesses create simple, effective branding and marketing strategies. Because if you do that, then you're envisioning a world where small businesses can market themselves confidently without wasting money. Because you help them create a simple, effective branding marketing strategy. Step 3 is values. Values are so important for your internal culture. We've talked about this at length and dedicated whole episodes to this, but they're important to your internal culture. They're important to your brand. They're important for so many reasons, because if you don't know what you stand for, then it's hard for other people to stand behind you or next to you. So list 3 to 5 behaviors that guide your decisions, things that are unflappable. Think about it like this. What principles would you not compromise for any reason? Those are your values. Keep them short and actionable. An example would be maybe clarity, consistency, and creativity. I would also try to pair those with a short sentence, because clarity, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Creativity, consistency, but how does this impact your business? What does it mean to your business? What does it mean for the people working there? What does it mean for the people that you serve? Step 4, your audience. Describe who you serve in 1 or 2 lines. Be specific. Don't just say anyone with money or somebody that wants to buy a boat. Not enough. Be specific. Something like growth-minded small business owners between $250,000 and $5 million in revenue. Just specific. Step 5, what's your brand promise? And again, we've dedicated so many moments in this podcast and full podcasts about your brand promise. Your brand promise is so important. And honestly, I've said this a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more because it bears repeating. But your brand is most of the time nothing more than the promises that you keep. So if you don't know what promise you're making or what promise you need to be keeping without any question, then it's going to be really hard for you to build trust. So this is the one thing customers can always count on. An example would be, we make branding simple and actionable. So if we're helping you with a strategy so that small businesses don't have to struggle with their marketing, we must make your branding simple and actionable, something that a regular business, not a marketing or a branding expert, can implement. And step 6, what are your top 3 priorities? What are the 3 most important brand actions in the next 90 days? So here's an example. Launch a new website, create a referral program, standardize a proposal template, something like that. Put all of that on your one page, and that's your plan. It's very simple, but most people get it wrong because they're overdoing it. And like I said, don't skimp on the research. I would still go through every single one of these podcasts that we've ever posted and think about your target ideal client. Think about how the brand archetype fits in so we can understand a little bit more about how they feel and what they think and what they're looking for and what they struggle with and what they hate and what they're afraid of and what they're driven by and all these cool things that you can think about beyond just, I need a guy that wants a boat and has some money. And just distill it down to that one page so that when people are on board, because they've all had a chance to engage with that one page and really understand and remember it, and it's repeatable and it's easy to understand, now they have the opportunity to dig deeper. And it's just like any other marketing funnel. You've got to basically get people's awareness first. And that's what the one page is for. And when you have their awareness, you'll give them some interest, and then they have the desire to dig deeper. And that's when they will have the additional pieces of documentation for you to go through. This is not an excuse to not do the research. This is just an addendum to the research so that it doesn't just sit on a shelf and collect dust, so that all the work and the effort of your marketing team and all of the resources that were spent to build this out for you is not wasted. So that's the framework. Now let's get tactical with takeaways you can put into action right this second. Write each section in one sentence. If it takes a paragraph, it's too long. The paragraph is for the longer, deep dive. But for this one page, if it takes a paragraph, it's too long. Cut it in half as many times as you can until you can't any longer. Test it with your team. Share your one-page plan and ask, can you explain this back to me? If they can't, simplify it again. Post it where people see it. Hang it on your office wall, pin it in Slack, put it at the front of your marketing playbook. Visibility creates accountability, and repetition helps people remember, recognize, and share everything that you're doing. Use it on your onboarding. Every new hire should get the one-page brand plan on day one. You could even have it written into notebooks or something, because your brand is going to be the thing that should drive everyone doing everything, whether you're building the business as the CEO, or you're marketing the business as the CMO, or you're a social media expert, or building a website. Everybody needs to be on board. So every new hire should get that one-page brand plan on day one. It's the fastest way to align them with your culture and your goals. And it helps qualify them, and it helps them qualify you. Maybe this isn't the right fit for me. Wouldn't you like to find that out on day one, or even in the interview process, because you have this prepared, instead of giving them a 42-page paper that they probably won't read, or they'll throw into ChatGPT and hope the best, but they're just going to remember what ChatGPT said. They're not going to remember what they read because they didn't read it. So don't forget to review it quarterly. Don't just do this one time and then let it sit, because the one-page brand plan needs to be remembered. And businesses change and markets shift. So review and update your one-page plan every 90 days so it stays fresh and relevant. So if you're reviewing it and you're saying, hey, are we still on board with this? Are we following this? Where can we improve? Where have we fallen apart? Where have we done well? What is working so well that we should keep doing it? And review it every 90 days. It doesn't take a long time. Make it a part of your regular meetings, and it won't really interrupt your regular flow of business. So here's a quick exercise. Take out a piece of paper right now and try to write your brand's vision in one sentence. No jargon, no buzzwords, just plain English. If it takes more than one sentence, you've got work to do. And if you have to use AI to help you truncate this down to a smaller sentence that makes sense, great. But don't start with AI. Start with the pieces of paper. And if it's a paragraph or it's a sentence, just write it all down, get it all down, and then refine it. Cut it in half as many times as you can so it still makes sense and it still says what you want. And remove whatever you don't need. Remove the fluff, remove the noise, and create beautiful music. Here's the bottom line. Long plans gather dust, short plans create focus. A one-page brand plan forces you to be clear, it forces you to prioritize, and it forces you to communicate. And it's easier to remember. It's easier to absorb. And when you do that, your whole team rows in the same direction. And that's what you really want. So don't get stuck with a 60-page binder nobody reads. Write one page, live it, use it, update it. That's how you build alignment, trust, and momentum. But again, this isn't an excuse to not do the research and not dive deep into who your customers are and what matters to them, or not dive deep into who your competitors are and how they're differentiating themselves and how you can position your brand. There's still lots and lots of research that needs to be done, and it is critical and important. And alongside that, create this one-page brand plan so that everybody can get on board with it quickly and easily. And it's even easy to remind people. If you can't put a 60-page document on the wall, but you can put your mission and vision and core values on the wall. You can put your brand promise on the wall. You can put that on swag. You can put that on t-shirts, and you can get everybody unified. So, as always, if you got value from today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and let us know your biggest branding questions. We might feature them in an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening to Brand Chops, where we chop up brands to see what they're made of, and we will see you next time. Brand Chops is brought to you by the fine people at Pivot Creative. Pivot Creative is a full-service branding and marketing agency that partners with businesses to build brands that connect so that every dollar you spend is an investment and not an expense. If you need some branding or marketing guidance, a website, a new brand, or want to learn more about one of the topics we cover on the show, please reach out to us at pivotcreative.com. If you know someone that would benefit from learning more from one of our shows, please share the episode. Visit brand-chops.com. And as always, like and subscribe if you find this content to be helpful. See you next time on Brand Chops, where we chop up brands to see what they're made of.